How you guys doing today? The Strategist here, and I'm checking in with a video. And I just wanted to talk about a game that I got last month called Sekiro Die Twice. You may have heard of it. It's by the creators of Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Armored Core and Tenchu. And I just kind of want to share my thoughts on this game, what I thought about this game, and give a little bit of a brief history of where I'm at with From Software and their various games. Now, I played, my first Souls game was Demon Souls. I played it back in 2010 when it came out, and at first I thought it was okay. I wouldn't say I was a big fan of the combat system. I wouldn't say I was a big fan of the way how the game was designed. But I liked it for what it was. But I never ended up beating it until recently. I didn't beat Demon Souls until maybe 2017. So it took me a while to actually finish the game. When it came to Dark Souls I had gotten back in 2014. I didn't get it back when it first came out in 2011. So it took me a little while to actually get to that game. And at first, I fucking hated Dark Souls 1. I couldn't stand the game. I fucking despised it with all my heart. I thought that it was terrible. When I first played it, I thought it was terrible. But then I went back, I played it again because Bloodborne was coming out, and I was super fucking hyped for Bloodborne. I don't know why I was so hyped for Bloodborne. I think maybe it was because the combat, the style of gameplay, and the design of the game was something that I didn't see in Dark Souls. So it kind of inspired me to go back and play Dark Souls 1 just to kind of get a feel of the way how this upcoming game was going to be. And I went back and I played it, and I eventually grew to like Dark Souls 1. I didn't like it at first, but it was kind of an acquired taste for me. So then from there, I got into Bloodborne. Fucking loved Bloodborne. I beat Bloodborne probably 3 times. You know what I'm saying? I beat Bloodborne probably 3 times. Got the platinum. Got the DLC. Fucking hated Ludwig, but I got through him with some co-op help. Some co-op sacrifices, you know what I mean? And I got through that fight. So I have just about every Dark Souls game. I have Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. I have Bloodborne. I had Demon Souls, but I sold it. Don't know why I did that, but I sold it. I have, this is not a Souls game, but I have Sekiro. I have Neo. I have Lords of the Fallen. What other like Souls-like games have come out recently? Hollow Knight. I think people say Hollow Knight is kind of like that. Darksiders 3 is like another Souls game. So I have, I guess I would consider myself an enthusiast of that style of play, but I wouldn't consider myself a fan necessarily. Now I'll say all that to say this. I thought Sekiro Shadows Die Twice was underwhelming. When I played the first 10 to 15 hours of Sekiro, I thought that it was going to be my game of the year. I had that vibration, that feeling going through my body like this was going to be my game of the year for 2019. But the more and more I played Sekiro, the more I pretty much grew to feel kind of weary about the game. And I'm gonna get into a couple of reasons why I feel underwhelmed and just kind of not disappointed, but I still like the game, but I felt disappointed in many different ways with the game, and just gonna share some of those reasons why I did. Now, first of all, I think that this game doesn't give you a lot of options. Sekiro does not give you a lot of options in terms of the gameplay. You have to play the game one way. For the entire 40 hours you're gonna be playing this game, I ended up spending 80 hours because holy fucking shit, this final boss in this game is probably one of the most infuriating final bosses I've fought in recent memory. Like, in terms of a modern video game, this shit had one of the most infuriating. We're gonna talk about that later. But anyway, yeah. So the game only wants you to play one way. You have to play the game one way. There's no options. There's no weapon options. There's no magic options. The only thing is you get a bunch of useless shinobi prosthetic tools. There's probably a couple of them that actually work well. The shield is basically useless because the game wants you to deflect. And yeah, you can use the shield in lieu of deflecting enemy attacks, but the shield is stopping you from getting in there and dealing more posture damage. You could probably get like 1 or 2 deflects off of the shield when you upgrade it, because you can upgrade the fan shield, the Iron Fortress fan shield, for it to have the ability to deflect. But you'll still have damage to your posture even when using the shield. So what's the point in using the shield? It doesn't even help protect you. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even help protect you really from enemy attacks per se, because your posture meter is still getting damaged. The firecrackers are probably the best shinobi tool because it distracts. It's probably the thing that actually helped me beat the final boss, was the shinobi firecrackers. Firecrackers were really, really helpful on the game. But most of the other shinobi tools are pretty much garbage. Like the finger whistle, I mean, well, there was no reason to really use that. It just kind of sucked. The finger whistle, the flame vent, except for when you're fighting the ogre with the red eyes. That's the only time the flame vent actually was needed. And then there's another mini boss that you fight throughout the game that also has red eyes, that the flame vent is very, very, very useful with. But most of the time, I didn't use the shinobi prosthetic tools. When I used the shuriken, the spinning shuriken that you get, I used it in the beginning of the game for like the first 2 hours and never used it again, because it was useless. There was no reason to use it. It wasn't like you were playing Mega Man, and you know how Mega Man had different tools, or he had different upgrades and weapons that he would get throughout the game to use it towards bosses, and certain bosses would have weaknesses towards the upgrades, right? Towards the actual weapons. Not in this game. You know what I'm saying? Only a couple of bosses have that similar kind of weakness, like a flame vent or like a firecracker. Beast enemies have more of a weakness to firecrackers. The flame vent is, enemies that have red eyes are weak. So yeah, I mean, that's another thing. But yeah, the stealth is decent, but it's really rudimentary. Really rudimentary. It adds something to the game by way of, you can use it on mini bosses to take off one of their death blows, one of their death blow gauges, one of their death blow health bars, or whatever you call it. But other than that, they don't do much with the stuff. It's just pretty much used very rudimentary, so to speak. What else did I not like about this game? The story was decent. For From Software game, I thought the story was pretty good. The storytelling was better than it is with most From Software games. There's actually an objective. There's actually things going on that you can understand, rather than the other From Software games where it was like, I don't even know what the fuck is going on in this game. You know what I'm saying? I'm just playing through it, I'm beating it, and that's it. Another thing, the Mortal Blade. What was the point of the Mortal Blade? Why weren't you able to use the Mortal Blade outside of like a special move? Why can't you just equip the Mortal Blade? You know, and that gets to my other point. What was the point of having a weapon outside of, I mean, what was, excuse me, not having a weapon, but what was the point of there's no reason to use them. They're basically useless. And maybe the axe is not too bad. The axe is pretty decent, but outside of that, most of this shit is fucking useless. Most of this shit doesn't even fucking work. Pretty much. It's just underwhelming. I really wish you could equip more weapons. Like I said, this game has no variety. It has no options. It just wants you to play one way. So, what's the point of replaying this game? For a different ending? You know what I'm saying? For fighting a boss you didn't fight before? And that brings me to another point. The Demon of Hatred. That fucking boss is terribly designed. It's literally a boss that they took from Bloodborne and they put in Sekiro. The thing that doesn't make sense about the Demon of Hatred, though, is that it completely defies everything you've been doing for the past 50 hours. It completely throws all the fundamentals out of the window and says, no, play this like Bloodborne. Basically, that's what it's. That's basically what that boss entails. If you guys don't know Demon of Hatred, it's a optional boss that you get towards the end of the game. Terribly designed boss. I didn't even bother fighting that fucking thing. But yeah. And that gets me to also another point with the final boss. The final boss in this game, holy shit. I must have died like 5,000 times to that fucking final boss. No lie. I died so many damn times to that final boss. It's ridiculous. That final boss was terrible. Not so much the actual final boss you fight is terrible, but what they do is such a big waste of time. They have it where you have to fight. If you guys have actually played the game, you fight this guy named Genichiro Asahina. And he is the grandson of Isshin Asahina. So in the game, you fight this guy about 3 times. And in the end, you have to fight him again. And you think, oh, this is the end. But there's a twist that happens. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a twist that happens. And you don't end up fighting Genichiro the whole time through. You have to fight somebody else after him. And guess what they do? They have, these motherfuckers at From Software had it in their mind to say, okay, let's not just give them a checkpoint, you know, like give them a checkpoint, give them some sort of progression and say, okay, well, they fought Genichiro already, they beat him, let's just have it where they go straight to the final boss. No. You gotta fight Genichiro every fucking time, so you gotta waste healing items, you gotta waste all this other shit just to get through him. And the fight is simple enough when you telegraph and when you understand everything, but after a while, it's like, yo, this shit is fucking ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? Really ridiculous. And that's what dragged out the fight Speaking of fights dragging out, you don't do any damage in this game. No matter how many attack power upgrades you get, no matter how many vitality posture upgrades you get from gathering the prayer beads, you don't do that. It doesn't make a difference. You get attacked, you get hit 1 or 2 times in this game, and you're dead. 1 or 3 times, you're fucking done. Like there's no there's absolutely no defensive game with this game. It's basically just parrying, 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 parrying. But if you play this game defensively, you basically would get killed. And the offensive game in Sekiro is virtually non-existent. Most of the bosses that you're going to fight in this game, you're going to basically defeat them by sitting there and parrying all day and effectively biting at their posture meter. Now the problem here is that that's all well and good, but why can't I do more than that? Why can't I attack the enemy offensively? Why can't I use certain magics and potions or whatever to fight them? Why am I only relegated to fighting the boss one way? Fighting against their posture. Fighting against their posture meter. It's the only way to beat the enemies on Sekiro. If you're fighting offensively, you're gonna be there for a while. And in a game where you can die in about 1 or 2 hits, that's a problem. That is a problem if your offensive game is basically nerfed. That is a problem. So yeah, that's another thing. The offensive game there's virtually no offensive game in this game. Now I know this video it's long, and it seems like I ragged the entire time on Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. But in reality, I liked the game for what it was. If I was to give it a score, I would give it a 7 out of 10. People that are giving this game a 9, a 10 out of 10, they are fucking bugging. Because, excuse me, as far as From Software games go, this is probably on the lower tier of From Software games. It's like 2 steps back from what we got at Dark Souls, Bloodborne. You know what I'm saying? And if we're going outside of From Software, when we talk about Neo, when we're talking about even Darksiders 3, when we're talking about there's a lot of other Souls-like games, you know, Neo being one of my favorites in particular. But it's like I don't know. This game, I liked it when the first 15 to 20 hours, I enjoyed it. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be my game of the year. This is gonna be the game that I put up there as one of my favorite games this year in this generation. But I ended up just feeling underwhelmed. I just ended up not liking it as much as I thought I was gonna like it. And it kind of put a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth as far as From Software titles go. So, yeah, that's my, I guess you could say, review of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I didn't really all that much fancy it, but I still think it was a good, decent game. So, if you don't mind, I'm gonna let you guys go. This is just Strategist here, checking out. Strategic Productions, checking out. I'm gonna go play some more Souls-like games that hopefully are better than this game. So yeah, Strategist out.